Yeah. Okay. Hello, everyone. It looks like we're live now. Welcome to this month's AuthorTube chat.
Hello.
It looks like, we just now got the memo that it is live. Sorry, I had to go mute myself. Okay.
I'm getting a masterclass ad, so.
My ad is trying to load, apparently. So that should tell you how that's going to go today. Hopefully.
I got lost and I couldn't find your face again. Where are you?
All right, let's see if you guys can hear us. Hopefully. Hello. Oh my gosh, so many people. Hello. Hello. Hi, Melanie. So many of you. So quick reminder. Oh, hi, Phoebe. Just get distracted. Quick reminder, this is the AuthorTube chat. So this is something that Jessica and I do every month. We pick a different topic to go over and just kind of talk about writerly things together. Usually we talk about the topic for like a good half hour or so. Then we meander our way onto books and other writing things and TV shows. And then chat more about the topic. So there won't be any writing sprints here, but just so you guys know what's up. Oh, thank you, Heather. Let me see if I can. Thank you, Heather. Oh, look at the little pupper.
I don't know what she wants.
We were just talking about her before the chat started.
I might convince her to climb under my desk and lay down, but we'll find out. She probably wants out or something, as they do.
As they do.
She had 20 minutes beforehand to do whatever she wanted. But like, when you hit record, she's like, eh.
That's right. It is now. So Jess actually came up with this topic this month, which, with a very catchy title, The Best Character You'll Never Read. Way to go, Jess.
Bonus points for me.
Yes. So originally the idea was talking about like characters and plots or like subplots or anything that we've had to delete out of the novel that basically has never seen the light of day, and talking about those characters and kind of the decisions we made as to why we needed to delete them and kind of mourn their loss. But I figured we could also talk about characters we've actually killed in the course of the novel. So we're just going to chat everywhere.
Now, if we talk about characters that we actually killed during the course of the novel, isn't that a spoiler?
It could be, depending on if the book's ever going to be read. That's the other thing. Okay. Like, I have works that I've done that no one's going to ever read.
Fair enough.
So
why is it red?
I don't know. I'm really impressed. So it's blue over on YouTube, and then I clicked on it in StreamYard, and it's red. Thank you, Samantha. Hello. I don't know.
Because it's like the super sticker.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And that's because Heather's was
blue.
I know. I have questions. I don't understand. But hello.
See, Kate and I do not know everything.
About StreamYard, yes.
I haven't figured it all out yet.
Yeah, that's what. So again, not on topic, but it's fine. Jess is helping people. She's making a video on like how to StreamYard for people who want to start AuthorTube channels or like who haven't done live streams before. Same with BookTube. So
we've been working on that today as well.
Yeah.
Hell's Mirror says I once killed off one of my two main character point of view.
How did you manage to do, like, did you know? Because this, since we always talk about books too, and this is slightly but for people who know about the Divergent series and how it ends, I've noticed that for some authors, it's a clue if there's all of a sudden two different points of view when there used to only be one point of view, that we're about to get a death.
Though really in that entire series, like every time a couple got together, within the next 3 pages, one of them died.
That is very true. Couldn't have anything be happy.
So
should have realized.
Should have known from the beginning.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah.
But I feel like Taylor said the ending of Divergent honestly makes me mad. Why are you reading my mind? I'm reading it out. You're clicking it on the page.
I was ready.
Why are you in my brain? So I always was really angry until the short story collection came out, and it has the author note in it about how she originally intended for the series to be from Four's point of view. Like, she never intended it to be Triss's point of view. And so when you look at it from that perspective and you look at the short stories and the build up to it, it actually makes sense that way. Like, she intended it to be Four's point of view, but couldn't get it to start from his point of view.
I feel like the publisher might have done her dirty then. Like, you should have switched over to 4 as a more gradual thing at that point, instead of it just being the 4th book and being or the 3rd book. I don't even remember at this point.
It would be interesting. So if anyone's planning on killing the main character in a series, here's how you do it. So in the first book, you have maybe 3 point of view chapters from the character that's going to be the one that lives in the end. And then in the middle book, you do maybe 10.
Yeah.
And then in the last book, you do half.
Yeah.
So you gradually change.
That way you're not cluing in the reader oh, I should know what's going to happen. Admittedly, I don't think I knew for sure. I never did finish the last book, and I rage quit. I've never thrown a book before, but I was reading it and I just tossed it. I was so mad. So I did see someone, hopefully, I think we might have spoiled it for someone. I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
Just because not bothered.
I'm not sorry. It's been 10 years. Get on my level.
The series is still...
cheese bread is, and I concur.
My cheese bread. It is. I actually do think I'm going to make some today. Honestly, it's kind of an overcast, gloomy day. And anytime there's an overcast, gloomy day, I think I need cheese bread. I need something to make me happy. So what do you think some other advice for people who are planning to kill off a main character is? And people in the chat too. Or maybe not even a main character. Should we talk about side characters too, well-loved side characters? Because again, kind of a spoiler, not really a spoiler. Someone said R.I.P. Fred Weasley, and that one cut me deep at the time.
Honestly, I didn't believe it when I read it, which is weird because she had killed so many characters before and at the same time. So I had to reread it because it was so glanced over.
Yeah.
I had to reread it 6 times before I was oh, okay.
Dead. Yeah, that's how I felt about Sirius in book 5, actually. Because he just falls behind the curtain, and I was like, it's just a curtain. What are you talking about?
I was 100% convinced that the 6th book would start with Sirius being alive.
Yeah.
100% convinced.
Oh,
I was wrong. In case you're wondering.
You were wrong.
I was not correct.
Sadie says, fun fact, I've never killed a character. And I feel like this might be the story. I'm scared. Oh, so she's writing the story now where she might do it. Has anyone else not killed characters before? Because, so Jess, you have been writing a pretty, am I allowed to say it's an epic fantasy? It's a big world.
Yeah.
So naturally.
The words are interchangeable. Epic fantasy, sword and sorcery, high fantasy, all very similar.
Yeah, they are. And
I kill a lot of people.
You do, yeah.
A lot, yeah. Lots of people die. One of the main characters dies within the first 15 chapters. So
just gone. Just does not care.
It's a lot of people. A lot of people.
Do you feel a certain way when you kill characters off?
I think it depends on the character. This particular character was created to die. I made him.
You knew ahead of time.
As a plot piece. Well, I needed one of the other main characters to have a reason to be angry and for them to move forward and to progress their storyline.
Mm.
So the only thing that my brain could come up with was like, well, what if they're in love with somebody and that person dies? The enemy kills this other person. So I basically created a love interest for her just so that the enemy could kill them and then she would lose her shit and kill people. That was the purpose.
I think it's so interesting that that's how you went about thinking through it. So, like, as you were kind of plotting, had you written some of it before and then realized that the character needed to be there?
It was before I was actually writing, because as I have said, like, I've been writing this story forever, so I had a good idea of a lot of the plot before I ever actually put anything down on paper.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things from the beginning that I was like, well, I have these two girls and they're best friends, and the one already has a reason to fight and the other one needs a reason. And I wanted it to be a sort of similar reason. And because the main character, her father, was killed by the enemy several years prior, it needed to be a death. And for her, it felt more natural for it to be, because she's a much more loving character than the main character, it needed to be someone that she loved and cared about. So it went with like their personalities. It made sense. Yeah.
I'm excited to beta read for you whenever the time comes. I don't know that my heart will take it, but
I'm doing the rewrite during camp. So
I'm excited.
Probably won't be done during camp, but
yeah. I do see Becca says, I kill characters but rarely main characters. Becca's one of the people that if you need to talk to her about a problem with your characters and it's like you're thinking about killing them off, she will talk you out of killing off the character.
I am the opposite. I will find a reason for them to die.
So it's good. We can have like, it's Jess over on this shoulder, kill them, and then Becca over on this shoulder, save them. Right there. Also, Heather is going to volunteer to beta for you.
You got it, Heather.
Heck yeah. Having said that, it reminded me of Project Death, because lots of killing, right? And I realized, I haven't talked about this in a video yet, but I've been thinking it over. And I realized that I had this whole, halfway through, I introduced this character of the prince. But I'm realizing what I'd actually done was merged an old story that I had that I really loved that hasn't seen the light of day with this one, like through this character, but this character doesn't actually fit Project Death. So he's about to be the best character you'll never read because he's going to be taken out of the novel. So that's kind of originally what Jess's point was and the point of the chat, but kind of, I mean, we just talked. But I'm removing him. So that's going to be one of the big things I have to figure out when I go back to revisit Project Death.
I see, I have, like, in the same story, because I don't think I've killed off characters in anything else yet. Other than I have another story that, like, a lot of people died, but it's because there was, like, an overtaking of the royalty. It's a whole coup thing.
Heck yeah.
Thing happened. But for the most part, like, my Alex series is like the one that the people have died in. But there also was a main character in the beginning that has been written out of the story. And some part of me thinks that in this rewrite he's going to resurface, but in a much smaller capacity.
Oh, interesting.
Than what he was in before. Because so in an attempt to age up the characters and the book and the world, as we've discussed, me deciding if it wanted to be adult or YA, I wrote the main character, Alex, as having already been in a serious relationship. And that relationship having ended, because that ages up a character.
Yes, yeah.
So they were still friends, so he was still an important part of her life and was still around. But at some point it was like, but everything that he does, another character can do. So he's not serving any purpose other than aging up the character. And that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So he is my favorite character that I've ever written, like of all time ever, and he does not exist anymore. And so part of me is like, if I can work him into this rewrite, even in just the tiniest capacity, even if we're just saying his name and he exists,
You'll feel.
you never see him on the page, I can be happy with that because he exists.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure, like, because it's like, am I just putting him in there because I want to, because I love him so much, or am I putting him in there because the story needs him to be there?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a tough one. But I do think just a personal nod to you, like that's kind of one of those things that I like to do in my books, where if I just need a random name or like a random reference to something, I'll put something from an old book just as a nod to more me than any theoretical reader in the future. But I think that's fun, and that way he gets his little light of day for a little bit.
I've also considered taking him and using him for a different story, but I don't think that he would work for any other story. I think this is where he belongs.
Would you ever write maybe like a novella spinoff? Like, I love the concept of all of these authors writing little side novellas, staying in their world, but being like, this is a character that never got to blank or never whatever. Would that be possible?
I have 3, maybe 2, I think 2 novellas planned as like an offshoot, but they're going to be prequels. Because we've talked about this before, like I think like when we've had our group chats. I don't think I've actually discussed it on a live, maybe, I don't know. But Alex, the main character of the story, her dad died like 12 years prior in the First War. And in my opinion, he is like the real hero of everything. Like, he gave up his life to protect everyone and to give everyone time to be able to build and to be able to fight the opposite army. And so, like, for me, he's the hero, but you never see him on page alive. But you can't start with his story, because if you do, then Alex's story won't make sense. So you have to start with her story. But I would love to do novellas like from his point of view, as like why he made the decisions that he made and why he chose to die versus trying to survive.
Yeah.
And also there's some mix up history, backstory, genealogy things that I would love to do from like Alex's great grandfather's point of view as well, because it would build on the story.
Yeah. And I think that's an important element, is that as long as it's building on the story, which I think is, I saw some people saying that they could never remove characters. And I think it comes down to like, I mean, because Jess, you've revised this novel so much. At a certain point, you realize that in order to build up the story, in order to make the story better, you got to get rid of them. I remember Marie Lu was talking about Warcross, which I still haven't read, but I was at a book festival and I heard her talking about how one of the characters that never was, she realized that he was this friend to the main character, but all he was doing was kind of driving her around places and like helping her get somewhere. So she made him into a skateboard for the main character. So the main character like kind of had the skateboard instead. And I thought it was so funny, because it's like, as you realize only later in revisions that you're like, he doesn't even serve a purpose, and then turned him into a skateboard. So anyways, I just think that's so funny.
When you can turn a character into an inanimate object, that is great.
You've done something incredible. Yeah. I do have comment on here, but I feel as if I keep adding characters instead of deleting them, which I think is also tough.
I think with such a large cast of characters, it doesn't. I have to pick and choose who to focus on, and it's. I mean, you know what epic fantasies are like, what high fantasies like, especially in the adult genre. It's like there's 80 characters, and you just have to keep them all straight. Good luck.
Yeah.
I also feel like Cassie Clare does that too. Like, here's 300 characters in 2 different timelines. Good luck. Yeah.
At that point, I think you really do have to have like a series Bible or something. It's something you're like referencing back all the time.
I was talking to my friend Brie about the most recent Cassie Clare novel, and she was like, I don't even understand who like this person is. I'm like, go online, go to the Shadowhunters wiki, look it up. And she's like, I didn't even think about that while I was reading it. I'm like, I live off of that. There's like a genealogy chart on there, and I just keep it open whenever I'm reading her books, because sometimes I'm like, who the heck is this person?
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm reading Mistborn right now. I did see some people talking about that. I'm reading Mistborn right now, and it, I think, arguably straddles the line right now, at least, between adult and young adult. It's really interesting how he's kept, because the main character, Vin, is like much younger. She is a young adult, but then everyone around her, the entire rest of the cast, is adult. So he actually started out the like first chapter with the adult character, who I think currently is acting as the mentor, even though the rest of the novel we see mostly through Vin's eyes. So it's just an interesting, but sometimes we see it through him. I'm fascinated by all of this.
I definitely need to read that. I need to.
Yeah.
That's my other thing, is like I want to hold off on writing because I'm like, I should read more in that genre before I write in it. But also,
Nope.
You're jingling.
I know. Oh no.
I'm like, it might be me, but I think it's you.
Yep. No, it was my bad.
It was Phoebe's fault.
Trying to find. Oh, look at that. Okay, so Becca says, can I click on? There we go. Nope. I may not kill a lot of characters, but I delete a lot of them. So that's also interesting. I want to know, Becca, from who did I not get to read?
It's a good point. Phoebe says she's sorry.
How dare you, Phoebe?
How dare you send us a message?
Someone could have muted her sites before. It's fine. Oh, okay. So Kat asks, what's your opinion on someone dying and then coming back? I think this is kind of one of those things that, as long as it fits the story, but it is one of those hard ones to work around, even in like TV shows. And I'm trying to remember what show I've watched where they've done it. But like, you're really playing with your audience at that point. So it's gotta be good, or you have to have done it a bunch so that it's kind of like I don't know.
I think it definitely has to be something that makes sense. Yeah, Shaylin says don't do it on the next page. Absolutely. I also think at some point it needs to be like an ambiguous death.
Yes.
If you make it something like clear cut, where like they've seen the body and they burned it, and then like 3 pages later he comes back, that's a little weird. But if you make it like he fell off a cliff into a ravine 500 feet, there's no way he survived, and then he survived, that's a little different.
Yeah, that is a little different. Also, I finally realized I was thinking of oh no,
she lost it again.
I did. It's not here. Never mind. Never mind. Jonathan says, I think if we're going to resurrect, don't kill them in the first place unless it makes sense for your plot. Yeah. Becca says, Supernatural brings back people all the time and it's glorious.
It's true.
That might have been what I was thinking. I haven't seen enough of that, but
I haven't seen the last like 3 seasons. Not because I don't love it, but just because I love it too much. I'm not prepared. So.
See, I'm seeing so many different shows that to be fair, that might be the one, Alexandria, where I'm like, Vampire Diaries, I swear there were several times we mourned the death of someone and then it was like, just kidding. Or like the freaking dagger, which can be undaggered and then and like no one's, yeah, I don't know. Okay, Jess, have you ever regretted killing a character off? Or have you ever in your drafts killed off a character and then in the next revision been like, never mind?
I mean, in development, I have killed off a character and like, basically said that everybody died. But then as the story progressed, developmental wise, so like still doing outlining, I was like, actually, you know what? I need one of those people to still be alive. But that was like it wasn't because of the character. Like it wasn't like character that I cared about. It was just I needed one of them to live.
Yeah.
So I've had that, and I've definitely had, like we discussed before, my favorite character ever. Like I didn't regret killing him off. I just hated that I had to do it.
Yeah.
And I am considering bringing him back, but it's been probably 10 years.
Yeah.
Again, I've been working on this story for 14 years on and off, long amounts of time.
Yeah.
But I think he was deleted about 10 years ago. Like
Oh.
the original, like I did my first, like my 0 draft, and he didn't make it to the first draft. So now that we're on draft 394, I'm considering putting him back in a little bit. But it's not because I regret it. It's because I love him so much. I want him to.
Yeah.
So I don't know. How about you?
So when I was chatting with Becca, once upon a time, for the Meridian Map series, there are going to be deaths. That's a statement of fact. Of characters that we learn to love. But I did talk with Becca once, and she actually managed where I decided not to kill a specific character. Having said that, they now like will not die in my mind. Like this character will live, but I did kill off some other characters. So I don't know that I regretted killing a character off. I've just changed. The story's changed, so now certain things fit better. Even if I get attached to my characters, and even if I might cry while writing the scene and being like, oh my God, this is going to be so heartbreaking. No part of me is like, I can't kill them off because of X. Usually it's like, oh no, the story makes sense. This is inevitable. They got to go. And yeah,
And Jane says, was there ever a character you regretted not killing off? Oh, I don't know.
Probably anytime a character frustrates me, I'm just like, I could kill you. I could just be done with you. I don't need to write you. And then, of course, that's not true. But sometimes I regret not killing them off when they're being annoying.
I don't think I've ever had a character that was just like, I wish I had killed you. Azure Studio says, was there ever a character you changed the way they died?
Oh. Probably.
Yes, because originally, again, the character that I deleted from the story was supposed to, I mean, it's way further in the future. It's like part of book 3, I think.
Yeah.
In my brain, which all is changing, so it doesn't matter. But in book 3 in my brain is when he dies. And because I wrote him out of the story, someone else that was going to die needed to die the way that he did. I was able to merge 2 characters together to create a skateboard.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's forever going to be my terminology now.
Yeah.
So I was able to merge him with another character to get what I needed, but because his death moved the main character a specific way, I still needed someone that was close to her to die that way.
Yeah.
So I just had someone else that was going to die anyway die then instead of later on.
I've definitely, when you said merged characters, I realized that that's something I've actually improved on. I used to write, I think, bigger casts than I needed, and I slowly started realizing in like revision that I should just merge them. So now what I do is I think I start with a smaller cast of characters in my mind, and so if I need to add someone or something, I will, but that's helped a lot. I've had to merge so many characters together when I realized that these 2 people, they're not serving the same purpose, but they're not doing enough alone. Could just make one, and then they can do everything. So
definitely. It's weird how you can like feel like a character is so important to you, and then in the story, it's like, I don't even need them. Why are they here?
That's the worst, especially because some of those characters tend to be the most, like, usually they're my minor characters, or like they're like minor main, very close, and I love them so much, and like they seem to be the most vivid to me, and then it's only like Phoebe in Revision that I'm like, wow, yeah, you don't do anything. I just really like you.
Oh, that's a good question. That's the one.
I also thought, ooh, that is a good question.
You know, it as a reader, it hurts, but as a writer, it's like, haha, you all are gonna hurt.
Yeah, I think it depends on what the purpose of the overall novel is. Because there are times when it's like, this needs to make a point that either this world is cruel, like nothing's fair, or like if you don't act when you should, like this is what happened. Like there's a certain thing that I think characters not completing their arc can teach the other characters, and in that respect, I think it's a good thing. But otherwise, but as a reader, it can really cut deep.
Yeah.
Becca. Yeah, people are just not having it.
Not having it. Jessica's like, do it. Don't do it to me, but you know.
But otherwise, do it.
I will say, like, I think even more interesting than dying without completing the character arc is dying to complete the character arc. Like, the entire purpose of it is just for them to die.
Oh no, I missed all of that.
You froze.
I did. What did you say? I want to know.
I said better than a character dying before they complete their arc is dying to complete their character arc.
Oh, there you go.
There's
Here's the purpose. Yeah.
There's a character in Susan Dennard's Something Strange and Deadly series. And like you learn about his character throughout the entire series and about like what kind of a person he is. And there is another character that he, you know, says he owes his life to, that he wouldn't be alive without this person. This person means so much to him. And in the end, he dies saving this other person's life. And so for me, like I sobbed, it killed me. But at the end, it's like, well, that makes sense for his character. That's what his character would do. So essentially him dying completed his character arc. Hurt, but worked. I have weird thoughts sometimes.
No, that's a good point. I think also when we're talking about arc, like, I think it's kind of like that. Even if the character didn't complete the goal they set out to complete, that's not always necessarily their arc, even though it can feel that way at the time. So I think there's some distinction to be made there too. So.
M. Christensen, what's your opinion on people saying that every story there should be a death? I think it depends on the story, because if you're writing like a happy romantic comedy, probably shouldn't be a death in that. And there can be, but it doesn't need one.
Yeah, I think you got to fit some amount of genre expectations. So if you're talking about like, are you writing a high fantasy? If you're writing a high fantasy and there's not a death, I would be confused, admittedly. But oh, see, okay, Benjamin makes a good point. Yeah.
I know nothing, so I'm out.
You could be Jon Snow. You can know nothing. I agree.
I don't even get that reference.
That's okay. I love Rob so much. He didn't complete his goal as the character, and it was a shocking death. But like for the overall story, it's one of those things that needed to happen. So like his purpose was to die. Anyways, it is very interesting. I want to see Becca's opinion on that. Where are you, Becca? I'm just gonna ask her about this later. See, people have feelings. Made me so sad.
Azure Studios says I write fantasy and I have only killed off one character. That's fine.
It is fine. Yeah.
Not all fantasy stories have deaths.
Yeah.
So, I think it a lot of it is about the theme of the book. So if your theme or your goal of one of the themes that you want to have in the book is to make things realistic, more lifelike, to make it emulate the real world, then yeah, you're going to need some death because that's what happens in the real world. But if your theme, your overall goal is to have whoever's reading it have a good time, to enjoy themselves, to escape from the world that they're in, then not so necessary, because having a death in it wouldn't serve the purpose that you were trying to make.
Yeah.
It just depends on what you're trying to do.
Yes. Do you have any major plots? And I guess as you've revised, I guess that's the point of revision, is just kind of fixing the plot. But any plot points that you really liked that you realized didn't fit the novel?
Any that I've loved that didn't fit the novel? No, not really.
Would you make them fit if that was the case, kind of thing?
It depends on if making them fit worked for the book or not. Like, if you can make it fit and it works, then yes. But if you try to force a square peg into a round hole, then no.
My internet went down again for like half a second, so I did not hear everything that you said again. I'm gonna try changing my Wi-Fi real quick, so if I'm out for like 2 seconds, hopefully it's fine.
You do what you need to do. I'll entertain the masses. Hello, masses. Kate's gone. How's everyone doing?
Are we all still here?
We can hear you, but like your face is still frozen.
Oh, interesting.
Now I can see you, but you're pixelated. You look like Kevin.
Good.
Your face really pixelated. Not that you have his hair or anything.
No. Everything is terrible.
Everything is awesome.
Everything is awesome.
How do you get around killing a character that you don't want to kill, but you know has to die? You don't. They have to die.
I think the question is, why don't you want to kill them? Like, is it for yourself because you like writing them? Or the problem is distinguishing between which voice. Is it your like writer, I'm having fun voice? Or is it the like, oh no, maybe there's another way voice? Sometimes I have a hard time listening to myself because I'll get the cues, but I don't always know where the cues are coming from.
Fair enough.
That's the question.
I mean, I guess. I don't know. What's interesting though is like, I have stories where, like my Emma story. Hi, if you're new here, I refer to my stories by the name of the first name of the main character because I don't name stories. I at least have character names, unlike someone we know.
Right.
So, like my Emma story, I did everything I could to make sure that everyone lived because it was supposed to be a happy story. It was supposed to be about overcoming a curse and making it so that everyone lives. And as of to date, everyone lives. So, like, sometimes my goal is to make sure that everyone lives and that I don't have any death. And then other times my goal is to kill everyone. So it just depends. Like, I have a story in my brain that I haven't started writing yet that, like, the twist ending is that everyone's dead. So
I love when you have the twist ending and then don't have the rest of it quite yet, but
I have no idea what the rest of the story is going to be.
Right. No, but I think that's so fun. That's what your brain. Yeah. It'll get there. It'll get there.
One of these days. I have to finish some other stuff first.
Yeah. Yes, Jess.
Shaylin says, what about a fate worse than death?
Oh, interesting.
I mean, it depends on what the fate worse than death is, but definitely an option.
Yeah. This is constantly a problem. Also, just like the random things we have to Google. Project Death was really a strain on my Googling, trying to figure out ways I could kill someone. Different ways I could kill each person, because I was like, I can't do the same method each time. So anyways, yeah.
Fate worse than death is an afterlife with no coffee.
I'm currently running on no coffee. As soon as this ends, I'm going to go get myself a cappuccino. So
I can't believe you haven't had one already. It's almost 10 o'clock.
I went on that run and my face has finally cooled down to its pale pasty white. But when Jess and I first started talking, I was still bright red and could not. I was so hot. Coffee seemed like a bad idea. Molly. Yep. And I'm going to do more of it from Murder Mystery Tennessee too. So April's going to be all about the Googling.
Remind me to ask you a question about April later after we're not live.
Okay. Can I remember that? I will message you.
That's a good plan.
April. Hey, that one was not me this time.
It was me. I wants to know your location. Listen, they know where I'm at. They know where to find me. I've been questioned by the FBI before. I'm not scared. Bring it on.
Oh, Raphael's Googled poison. Poison's so interesting to me. Yes. Yes.
Poison is an interesting one because, like, you could research it on the internet, but also you could just, like, buy a couple of books on herbology.
Yeah. Just find some information about plants.
Buy some kitchen witch books.
Hey.
I have an idea. Why is someone saying the F you in the chat?
I don't know. I think it says it's held for review. We will hide that.
Yeah, I don't know if it was like in reply to somebody just being goofy or if it was just like random person.
Yeah.
Here you go. The witchy writer. I just had to Google throat slitting. Story of my life. Yes, Stephanie, look at your witchcraft supplies. It will give you all the answers.
Have you ever, since I know you have been making a whole magic system, have you ever, in the course of making that system, like, how much have you had to change it? How much have you abandoned one system for favor of another system?
In the beginning, there was no system. It was just whatever I felt the story needed, which is not cool. Don't do that. But when you're 20 and you don't know better, it's what happens.
Uh-huh.
And then I tried to do, like, basing it off of more pagan practices. And that really didn't work for me either. So now it's based off of, there's like an elemental magic and there is like an energy type magic. So it's being able to control different types of energy, which means you can do different things with it, whether it's like telekinesis, being an empath, being able to change how people perceive your, like, glamour, basically.
Yeah.
You can change the energy. You can transmute people's powers into something different. So I changed everything. I had to find a magic system that worked for the things that I already had happening. And the only way to do that was to create my own. So I have done that. So it's changed several times, but
yeah, it's just kind of morphed.
In my witch boarding school story, though, like the whole purpose is that it's like an alternate universe where people have basically, I'll say, like the power of positive thinking, where you wish for something so hard that it comes into fruition. So over all of these years where people have been basically worshiping all of these different types of magic, whether it's like the Harry Potter magic system or whatever magic system that we all worship, they've all come to fruition and they all exist. So it's like you go to a school to learn how to do magic, but it's like different types of magic because it's from all the different forms of the books that we all love. So that has no magic system because it's all of them together.
All the magic. I like that. Yeah, manifestation. But like a real, like a full manifestation. I
think what did I do? Show. The Drawer Girl says I tried to use Wicca to create my magic system. The thing with that, and it's what I think I was doing originally in my Alex story, is that even though I am pagan and I do practice witchcraft and practice Wicca, I don't know everything. And so I feel like no matter how much research I do, you're going to get the most ridiculous. There are people, especially, I mean, in every religion, you have it. People that are so hoity-toity and like their way is the only right way. And so people are going to tear you apart, just completely tear you apart for having that kind of a magic system. And so I think it's safer to just create your own. It is very individual, Molly Jane. But everyone will judge you for it because your way is not the right way because it's not their way.
Yeah, I think that's a tough one for a lot of things, especially as where we've talked about own voices and stuff before too, which we, definitely need more of. I think I've seen some people then judging the own voices for sharing their own experience, which isn't the experience of others who are also like, all of it's confusing. And I do think that religion especially tends to, certain people might police it more sometimes. So.
That is one of my, as we talk about the king, Rick Riordan, one of my favorite things about the Magnus Chase series, he has a character that is gender fluid. Sometimes they are male, sometimes they are female. They prefer to be, their friends can tell when they're male and when they're female, whichever gender they are switching between at the time. And it is so interesting to me. Yes, Hell's Mirror, Alex. It's so interesting to me the way that they explain this character is basically someone was like, what does it mean? Like, what does this mean? And Alex is like, well, this is what it means for me, but it's different for everyone. So the way that I feel isn't going to be how everyone else feels.
Yeah.
And I love that he put that in the book because even when you have own voices, people writing own voices, characters, just like you said, people are like, well, that's not my experience with it, so that's not how this works. And it's like, you can't tell someone that their experience isn't real.
Yeah.
So to say, especially when coming from a middle-aged white man, to say, this is how I feel about it, but everyone's experience will be different. I think is the fact that you have to say it is ridiculous, but I love that the middle-aged white man put it that way.
Put it in there.
Yeah. So he is the king.
We love Uncle Rick. Yes.
We do love Uncle Rick. He is the king of all kings. We will keep him forever. Bow down to him.
Yes. Have we managed one AuthorTube chat without talking about him? I don't think so.
I love him. I talk about him a lot. So sorry.
Not sorry.
I think he writes so broadly. I mean, it's middle grade, but he writes so broadly in like his perspectives and different genders and religions and races of people. But just somehow he always ends up he's done something that fits the topic somehow.
That actually reminds me, vaguely on topic of the chat. Have you ever realized that the story you were writing from one point of view actually needed to be told from a different point of view, like from a different character?
Never a whole story, but definitely a chapter.
Okay,
or like trying to fight a scene to come out for days and days, and then it's like been 3 weeks and you can't get it out, and then all of a sudden you're like, if I write this from this person's point of view, and then it just magically happened.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I've done that before, where it's like,
yep. We are not alone. That's what I was realizing. Oh, look at Phoebe. I had to cut one of the 2 point of views in my YA sci-fi.
Someone has the unpopular opinion that they dislike Rick's books, and that's okay.
That is okay.
You know what? I have books that are like my favorite book of all time, and I can sit and have people tell me why they absolutely hated it, and I'm like, no, you make a good point.
You're not wrong.
You're not wrong, but I still like it.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that I'm okay with that. I'm not one of those people that gets like ridiculously upset if someone doesn't like what I like.
Yeah, same. And that's what I always use the Shadowhunters as an example, because I didn't like them when I read them, and yet they are so hugely popular that it's like, clearly if I can feel this way, then whatever my favorite book is, there's going to be someone who's going to be like, no, not for me. And I'll be like, yeah, you know what? Sometimes it's not for you. And that's fine. Also realizing, this one's a tough one too. I think I go back and forth so many times, but realizing what point of view, what tense, what anything it needs to be told in takes me a while sometimes.
And you know what? That's one of the things that I disagree on. Like, people say that you need to figure that out before you start writing, and I think sometimes you have to start writing to figure out what's going to work.
100%. I think I have to start writing to know.
I've definitely, like, I'll sit down to write something, and especially if it's like a new story, it's just whatever. My zero draft is always essentially like a highly detailed outline. And so there is no point of view or first person, past, present, whatever. There's no nothing. It's just me writing like, person goes here, this happens, blah, 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 whatever. And so sometimes there will be like full structures of actual dialogue, but there's no tense, and there's nothing there. So when I go to actually sit down and write the first draft, that's when I start playing with it and trying to figure out what I want to do for sure.
That's so interesting. I'm debating calling my zero draft, except that I truly think it is a zero draft, but like a narrative outline at this point, because when I do it, it is told how I think it should be told at the time, but then all of it's subject to change. So,
well, Kevin and Laura hate the term zero draft, but they use like exploratory draft.
Yeah, which is fine. That works.
It's the same thing, but zero is so much easier to say.
I think so. And I have seen people like, they don't like it because they think it's like zero and that means it's worth nothing and blah. I'm like, okay, well, that's fine.
I mean, it is worth nothing. You can't publish that.
Yeah, you definitely can't publish it. No one can ever see it but me.
You can't get opinions on it.
No, not even opinions. Yeah.
There's nothing there. It's literally nothing. So.
Jonathan, my mind says first person, but my heart says third. Same with past and present tense.
And in that point, if you know like an important part of the story, write it every way and see what, instead of like starting at the beginning.
Yeah.
Do something that you know is important, how it's told, and write that from different points of view and figure it out from that aspect.
That's a good point, because I did have
Sloppy copy.
I know. Is that not amazing? I've never heard that before, but I think that's so funny.
I love it.
Great. Yeah. Zero draft just means 0 people are going to read it. Yeah. True.
Exactly.
Honestly, I don't even read the whole zero draft sometimes because it's like, it's just me figuring out the story. So then when I go to do the first draft, I'm like, okay, now I can write it for real. So sometimes I don't even read it. Sometimes it really is 0.
I still struggle with tense. Like, it's one of those things that just, I mean, I switch tense when I'm writing, and it is one of the things that, like, is my weakness. And I know that, so it's fine.
That's what it's good to know what your weaknesses are, but because also same. Yeah. Part of my process is going through later and making sure the tenses are completely correct and that there's no like, that everything feels very present, even if it's told in past tense, like making sure I can use the best word possible kind of thing. But I don't do that until later.
I definitely have issues with tenses and trying to get everything figured out together, and yeah, you know, it's fine.
Stephanie says, how do you move from a 0 draft to a first draft? I'm stuck and kind of scared.
That's a good question. How do I normally do that? It's been a long time since I've done a first draft.
Well, in the follow-up, do you ever get overwhelmed with how messy the 0 draft is?
Sometimes I can't even read the 0 draft because I do it handwritten, because I'm quicker at handwriting than I am at typing. So my 0 draft is like just me getting thoughts on the page, and so sometimes I look at it and I'm just like, I don't even know what this is.
Yeah.
What is this?
That's exactly why I don't handwrite anything.
So sometimes I'm overwhelmed because I have no clue what it says. But I think if you're going from a 0 draft to a first draft, again, if you're not a linear writer, you could take the parts that you are more excited about writing and maybe start from there, or things that are more important, start from there. Some people are linear writers and some people are not. This kind of depends. I think you just kind of have to do whatever you think is going to work for you.
I don't worry about how messy the 0 draft is because, again, I don't always read my 0 draft. Sometimes it's just for me to get ideas out on the paper. And so sometimes what I'll do after is when I start the first draft is that I'm just starting from the beginning again. But now I just have a better idea of specific scenes, and I know more about the characters, so I know how they'll react more, and you know, things like that. The only thing I really take away from the 0 draft is potentially what specific things need to happen when, and sometimes I don't always have that figured out. I'll just have it at the beginning or at the end, so it's not worried about, you know, I don't know that I have a problem going from 0 to first. So I don't know if I have the best advice. Oops. That's what Sandra says. For me, moving from Word Vomit draft to first draft usually involves my first round of edits. I edit, then rewrite, and call the rewrite my first draft. Yeah, mine's definitely a whole rewrite. If anything, that might actually be when you want to outline and just make note of what scenes need to be there and where, and then just rewrite the whole thing.
I think, like, for me, because I do like my 0 draft on paper, the easiest way for me to start is just by inputting it into the computer. And so, like, some things change, some things stay the same, some things get moved to other places. And that's really how it works for me. It's just I start at the beginning of my notes and work from there on transferring from paper to the computer to get the words in. And I think that process definitely helps evolve things the way that they need to be evolved.
Yeah. Yeah, or it's your brainstorming process.
I mean, it definitely is like a zero draft, detailed outline, brainstorming. What did you say? Story narrative,
Yeah.
exploratory, sloppy copy,
Sloppy copy.
just different versions of the same thing. So.
It's just a way to figure out what story you're trying to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have the hardest time doing handwriting, but it really is what's easiest for me. But I have a lot of arthritis in this hand, so it's a happy hand. It's fine. Like this hand will flex. This hand does not flex. Anything.
No.
So it's fine. I also handwrite daily for my job. So
it's just a lot of.
Yeah. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
Stephanie asks, are your stories plot driven or character driven?
Oh, I did not click on the right one. You know, I always say mine are character driven, but only because the characters drive the plot. So it's kind of like, because obviously the plot's super important. I think of the characters first, and then the plot is kind of because of the characters' choices. So in that way, I do think it's character driven, I guess.
I always feel like character versus plot driven, which I'm completely wrong. So don't like take this in any way as fact. But like my brain sees character driven stories as like stories that don't have a plot.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there are some stories where there's really no plot, but the character drives the story forward.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think those are more like slice of life type books, but I just don't know that anything that I've written is character driven. I think everything is plot driven, but again, the character's choices are what drives the plot. So
I'm so curious about this because I want to know more people's thoughts on this because I know it's a usual question and like people talk about it a lot. And I've always defaulted to character driven, but the more I've been writing, I'm just kind of like, but you need both. So like, I'm just confused on the, like, if I'm writing like the meridian maps, one of the first things I do for that, because now I know the characters so well, is figure out where the maps need to be found. So in that aspect, I'm actually first plotting the plot and like where things need to go. And I know we need to end up here because of here. And like, because I'm doing a series, this needs to happen at the end of the third book so that the start of the fourth can be right here. Like, I'm thinking through that more so than like a YA contemporary where I'm like, you know, it's all still important. Like there is a plot, but it's also like, I don't necessarily have to think of the plot first, but that's just how my mind is. But even then, again, the characters drive the plot forward because otherwise you'd have just inactive characters and no one wants that. No one wants to read it. So I don't know. It's a weird kind of.
It is like I guess I need to do more research on like character driven versus plot.
Yeah, I have questions.
Because to me, I feel like you need both.
Yeah.
So.
And does anyone want to define it for us also?
Is anyone smarter than us?
Yeah, do you guys know what this means exactly? And it's not, like, it's not a bad question. I just think I've never understood the question. Like, as I think it through more, I'm just like, I don't know.
People are asking about prepping for camp. Do you have any camp videos this year?
I did make my 5-step prep plan, but it was very specific to me because it involved like I have to research and re-outline and reread kind of thing. So no exact advice on camp other than step 1 should always be determine what your story is or determine what your goal is. So You know, because maybe you only have time for 10,000 words, or maybe the world has changed recently and now you shockingly have time to try for a 40,000 word story and you might want to change your stories or something, you know? So I'd figure that out first.
Do you have a playlist of all of your previous?
I do some places, somewhere, maybe not all of them, but I do have a playlist somewhere.
Somewhere. I am 100% on your channel right now, looking at your playlist.
I just went to my own to see.
I mean, you have one from April camp last year.
Yeah.
And one from camp in camp in July. Good Lord, Jessica. Daily vlogs from 2018. So you have Preptober videos from 2018.
Yeah.
So go to Kate's channel, go to her playlists. There's like a million videos on there that'll give you all kinds of tips and help. And I have a couple, but I don't even know.
Do you have a playlist for them, Jessica?
I don't know. Let me find out. Go to me. I'm mine. Playlists. I do have a Preptober playlist with 5 videos on it. That's right. I am super cool. Yeah, I have a prep. Oh, I also have a NaNoWriMo playlist that has 45 videos in it. God only knows what's in that.
Oh.
45 videos? What the heck?
Oh my gosh.
I'm curious now.
Kayla said, I used to co-write books via text message. Remember the 200 word character limits? It took forever, but nothing unnecessary. Wow. I am so impressed.
That's insane. Good for you.
I do remember the days. Or when you had to pay for each text.
Magdiel, I will have a video up on how to use StreamYard on the 1st of April. Is the plan.
Very soon. Yay.
We're going to finish working on that today. Should be up on the 1st. So
yeah, because I'm excited to see how many people start doing live streaming, especially for Camp NaNoWriMo. But
yeah, well, especially with more people being at home and trying to stay in, and so it'll be interesting. But yes, on the 1st. 1st of April. It's not an April Fool's joke.
It's actually on the 1st of April.
It's actually on the 1st of April.
Yes. Should we do one more question? Because I've seen this one pop up, and then we can talk about next month's chat / the books. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
How do you deal with writer's block or lack of motivation?
I don't. That's the honest answer. Like, I know I have one day a week, which is Thursday, during Kevin and Laura's live stream. That's the day that I know for sure that I'm going to work. The rest of the time, no clue.
Yeah.
I just don't, like, I know, I think because I know that I only have like that 2-hour block of time that I know for sure that I'm going to be writing. So I just write. Like, I don't think I deal with writer's block or lack of motivation. I don't have a lack of motivation because I know that's the only day I'm going to get. If I do have any kind of writer's block, I typically just skip the scene I'm on and move on. But but I just don't. I don't have, like, I'm not sitting here 8 hours a day trying to muster up the motivation to write. So
that's what I was going to say. My advice is usually skip forward scenes. And I know some people say that they don't like to do that. But also the question is, one, is it writer's block or is it story block? Like, I do understand that some writers are like, oh no, this is a story issue. I just haven't figured out what the issue is, but you just get that feeling. And so you feel blocked on it and you're just like, something's wrong. I don't know what it is. that's when I switch stories for a little bit and I'll work on something else. And then usually I'll have an epiphany and I can go back to the other one. Or skip scenes until you have something that you know that you can work on. Lack of motivation, I think, can kind of go into story blocks, though. Maybe you're just not as excited about that story right then.
Yeah, Cassandra says, for writer's block, I switch books, but I don't tend to get it. And since I have no intention of publishing, I don't feel particularly pressured. Always a good thing.
Yeah. Well, we talked a little bit about camp today, but actually next month's live stream is going to be about camp, I think. We're just going to talk about how it's going. Right? That was the plan?
Next month's live stream is our book club live stream.
Well, it's both, yeah. So I think we were going to have a topic, camp, and then we were going to have our book club discussion, which, oh no, I was not prepared.
I'm prepared.
And I have the weird copy from my library because the large print looks like this for some reason.
There's another version also, but they all are Evelyn in a green dress because she's known for wearing green dresses.
I like your green dress a lot better than this one, but there you go. Yeah. So we'll be reading that and talking about that. I'm excited. Jess already started the book.
I'm on page like 165, and I love this thing.
I have not started yet, but I'm very excited to. I'm trying to finish Miss Boerne, but we're going to see. I might just be adding another book to the rotation. Jessica's a fan. See, after, look at that. Everyone's reading the book. So excited. Other people have already read it. I cannot wait to discuss.
It was a really popular one, and it came out like in 2017 or thereabouts in there. So, yeah, 2017. So a lot of people have already read it, and so it
had the full hype and recent hype.
Yes. Did I buy this from Book of the Month in June of 2017? Was I a member of Book of the Month then?
You
must have been.
Also, Luna, book club is a regular thing. It happens every 2 months. So you will find out what the book club choice is. And then you have 2 months to read it basically before we discuss it.
Yeah.
Which part 2 of that, do we want to talk about our options, Jessica?
Yes. So basically, we'll announce the winner. It's a complicated process, guys.
We tally things up.
So for April's book chat, we will be talking about the book.
Seven Husbands.
This book. We'll be chatting about this book, but we will also be announcing the winner for the next 2 months of book club that we'll talk about in June.
Yes.
Follow along. Okay.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to give you your 4 options. Is it 4?
It's at least 3 right now, but we do want to give 4. I don't know that we came up with a 4th book.
I don't know that we came up with a 4th book. I told you just to pick one.
You did, and I picked just one.
Go pick another book. Do it now.
Okay.
Pressure.
Jess will entertain you. Hold on.
So basically, we're going to give you 4 options, and then we'll do like an impromptu vote here, and you can like pick one. But also, we will have a poll up on Twitter and Instagram, and probably on Kate's YouTube channel, maybe mine. Who knows? So we're gonna have like a lot of places to vote, and then whichever book has the most votes, then we will pick that one, and we will read it as a group. She picked a 4th book.
I picked a 4th book.
Look at her go.
Finally prepared. All right, so
I like putting her under pressure.
I know. Oh my gosh, I didn't know what to choose. I might have made the wrong choice, but also it is up to y'all, the people. So, shall we give them their first option? Jess, I will throw it over to you since you have 3 copies of their first option.
Your first option, is Truth Witch by Susan Dennard. It may look like this, or it may look like this, or if you're in the UK, it may look like this.
Look at how pretty.
Obviously, I have 3 copies. I've already read it.
I have 1 copy. I have this copy.
But I love it. And so I am willing to reread this. I've already reread it twice, but I'm willing to reread it again.
She is. And it'll be fun because you actually have discussions on this. I feel like I remember, so we can always reference back those. It'll be really entertaining.
I have a full review video, but it is the only video on my channel that is private.
Oh, that could be a cool discussion with it. But your second option, shall we show them the second option that we both have?
Jack the Ripper.
Second option.
By Carrie Maniscalco. Your cover's different than mine.
Mine is actually I don't know if it says. I'm pretty sure it's an ARC.
Oh, that would make sense.
Yeah, because it has an on sale date.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, Stalking Jack the Ripper, Carrie Maniscalco. Second option.
All right, and then I will present to you the third and fourth options because it is a surprise to Jessica.
Surprise to me.
All right, Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor is the third option. You can see I have my half price book sticker on it and everything because Jess was kind enough to just do books this time that I already own. That was kind of the goal. Books we already own or books we can get from the library. And if we or I own them, or I can get them at my library with how small it is, we assume everyone else can probably get them too. So that's kind of how we wanted to do it. So that's your third option. And then your fourth option, Jess, I don't know if you've heard of this one, City of Saints and Thieves.
I don't think I've heard of that one.
Throwing another fantasy option at you. So we actually have all of those were fantasy-esque. So this one takes place in, it's set in Kenya and the Congo, and yeah, so.
Okay.
Setting with magic-y kind of they use. Ta-da!
So those are your 4 options.
Those are your 4 options, and we'll post on Twitter, and not me. Jess will post on Twitter.
Jessica will post on Twitter.
And then we both might post on YouTube. And
then we'll add them all together.
And see who the winner is.
And if it's really close like last time, because last time, the first time we did a poll, A Discovery of Witches and Evelyn Hugo were really close together.
Really close, yeah.
So they were like 1 vote off or something crazy. So we did one and then did the other. And we may do that again, just depending on how the votes end up being at the end. So
yes. So all the options. It'll be really fun. But yeah, so we'll talk about Camp NaNoWriMo, then we'll talk about 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Is that really what it's? Yeah, okay, I was just making sure.
Making sure it was called 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo.
I was making sure. I was just gonna.
Well, because there's like the 7.5 deaths of somebody.
What the other one was? Yes. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna mix them up in my head. But yeah, so hooray!
So I'm really excited. No matter what book we pick. That's my work phone.
Uh-oh. Well, perfect timing-ish because I think we're done for the chat today. But thank you guys for coming and joining us and chatting about the best character that you'll never read, or conversely, the best character that you will read that also died in the course of our novels. So thanks, y'all, and we are excited to read the book with you and chat about it. Yay! All right. And we don't yet have the April date, but we will post everywhere about it.
When we do.
Yeah. All right.
But if you're already following Kate, then you'll know because she'll post it.
Yes. Yes. So subscribe to my channel.
So subscribe to Kate's channel and make sure that you like this video, because if you don't like this video, then you're a loser. That was mainly to myself, who has not yet liked this video. How dare you? Jessica's channel is linked down below so you guys can find her, because when it won't be on my channel, it will be on hers. Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.